Hi, I'm Dana. In my last video, I talked about how I have been struggling because I have three part-time jobs and I'm finding that it's really overwhelming. I'm 60 years old and I'm at the age where I really am thinking more about winding down and wanting to retire. I want to have less responsibilities, and yet I still have this nagging feeling that I need to keep making money. I wonder if I'm ever really going to be prepared to actually retire. I wanted to just say that I'm still figuring things out. I have come up with some decisions, and I thought I'd go ahead and share them with you, let you know that I'm also still kind of struggling with some issues as well. I had to figure out what was really important to me and what my priority is. And from my last video, I explained how I have these three part-time jobs. One is my thrifting business, which I started in about 2021, I believe. And that's where I thrift vintage and modern clothing, and I sell it in my online stores, which is eBay and Poshmark. My other business, as I became monetized, is that I have this YouTube channel. And then what happened just a few months ago is that I'm now taking care of my first baby grandchild, Malia. And I take care of her along with two other grandparents. And that would be my daughter's husband, Justin's mom, and her name's Lena, and Kelsey's dad, who's Neil. He remarried. Him and his wife help take care of her on Wednesdays. And I take care of Malia 2 days a week. And Lena, when she's here, she visits from San Diego, which is down south. And I'm in Northern California, so she lives in Southern California. And she's retired, so she comes and stays with the kids upstairs for periods of time. And it could be 3 weeks at a time, 2 weeks. It kind of shifts and changes. So, what has happened is that when Lena goes away, and she could be away for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, it varies. I take I kind of take her shifts. And so because of that, it ends up being 3.5, 4 days a week instead of 2 days a week. And what I found was it was impossible for me to put the same amount of time and energy into YouTube and my thrifting business. I felt discouraged about it, and started talking to my daughter about it, and she totally understood where I was coming from. And she said, I want to pay you for your help, and this way you don't have to work so hard at your businesses. So at first I was really hesitant on taking her help, which is that I wouldn't, one, I wouldn't have to contribute to the mortgage anymore, and two, I would buy groceries, every week, and I would buy enough groceries for me to make meals for, everybody. So she would pay for the groceries. So I would go grocery shopping, I'd give her the receipt, and then she would pay me back. And then the third thing that she would help with, which was acting as my payment for, childcare, was I was paying for the utilities, which is the electric gas bill. And from here, she would take it on, and I wouldn't have to pay for that. So those are three huge, big expenses on my part. And at first I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that, because I felt almost like I was giving up some of my identity as far as, a person who has her own business, who is able to support herself, who, um, is proud of what she built and wanted to build it up even more. So I was hesitant about it, but I decided that I would take her help, because the childcare that I provide is worth something. And since it was taking away from my income, bringing in income from my businesses, that it seemed like something, it seemed like a good thing to do. And so far, I I appreciate it a lot, and I feel good about it. There is a part of me, I almost feel like I'm losing a little bit of my autonomy or independence. So there's that. And I think maybe that's more of a mindset shift that I need to do. What I decided also was that with my thrifting business, it requires a lot of work. And it's daily work. It's not like I can put a bunch of time in 1 or 2 days and then I don't have to work on it for, so many days. I had to be consistent about the time and energy I put into it. And so I was actually getting pretty burnt out with this business, with my business. So for me to step back, although it felt strange, like I don't know how to quite explain it, but it felt like I was dropping the ball, and, because I just worked on it every day, to all of a sudden to cutting back and, maybe even not working on the business for couple or a few days felt really not right. And that I'm still trying to get used to that feeling. But on the other hand, I was getting tired of just the daily grind. And so for me to step back from it is okay. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while and wondering how I could not have to keep hustling and grinding, in my business. And then as far as, my YouTube channel, that is something that I really enjoy. And I definitely love the creativity. I love talking to you, and, within the comment section, I get a lot of personal enjoyment from my YouTube channel. However, what was also kind of I was getting kind of burnt out with was that I followed a very strict schedule of creating a video and launching it every Sunday. And for me, that pressure of being consistent and always putting out on the same day, trying to do the same time, no matter, what else is going on in my life, was becoming overwhelming, especially when I started babysitting. So just to give you backstory, and I do have the other video from, my last video that really kind of goes more into it, but that's to give you kind of the background of what's been going on with me. So do I give up, one of my jobs, or do I cut back on them? Do I give them do I give up on both of them? And so all these scenarios were going through my head, trying to figure it out. And first of all, I had to decide what was my priority, what was most important to me. Is it creating my business, and seeing it grow, making money, adding more and more to my retirement fund? Or was it spending this time, let's say 2 to 4 days a week, depending on, when Lena is here, spending it with my grandbaby Malia? And it's a period of time that is so fleeting because, when she goes off to daycare or toddler school at anywhere from 1 year to 2 years old, I won't have that time anymore. I won't have that this job, and it will go more into, perhaps picking her up from preschool or toddler school, up until when she, taking her to her softball game or dance class, things like that. Maybe babysitting when Kelsey and Justin go out for, a date night or something like that. So, and the way I came up with that Malia was my most important priority as far as the 3 part-time jobs I have is that I remember my mom, she had such a great relationship with my 2 daughters, Kelsey and Emmy. And my daughters really loved her too. I feel like my mom was a great grandmother. That sounds kind of weird. She was, yeah, she was a really good grandmother. And I really love and cherish their relationship. And I want to have that with, Malia. And who knows if I'll have any other grandchildren. I don't know. Kelsey and Justin say that Malia's the only one at this point. And my youngest daughter, she's 20, so I'm not thinking about her having kids for a long while. So after I realized that this, is the most important thing, then I can work around what's next. And for me, I mentioned that I was just going to pretty much cut back on how much time I spend on both YouTube channel as well as my thrifting business. And it has been kind of challenging for me because I didn't realize how much my identity is wrapped up into my jobs. I didn't realize that I put a lot of self-worth into what I do for a living. And the other thing is, the financial part. And I was nervous about if I have enough for retirement. And the reason why I feel nervous about that is that my mom, she had a certain amount saved up in her retirement. I think it was like $250,000, which sounded like a whole lot of money. However, after she retired, she got really ill. And for a period of time, I tried to take care of her. I couldn't handle it. I was working in San Francisco as an art director. full time. I had, Emmy at home. She was a preteen, or no, not a preteen. She was in middle school. Um, and my mom, it got harder and harder to take care of her. I was lucky enough that my best friend was studying to be a nurse, and she agreed to help take care of my mom and watch her, help her eat, and things like that. It got to the point where I needed to have like round the clock nursing for my mom. And so I hired, I don't know, maybe like it was 3 or 4 different people who would take shifts and take care of mom. And that was really, really expensive. So from there, we decided, let's look into more of an assisted living situation. And, we took mom to visit these different places. And there was this one that seemed like a fancy hotel. In contrast, the other ones were really, really depressing. And so instantly, and it was also really close to where we lived. So it would be super easy to visit her like every day. So we decided, you know, that she could live there. And she actually really liked it. And she made friends. But she declined pretty quickly. But still, she was there for, I don't know, a year or something. And that $250,000, it it was it just got depleted right away. So I remember that situation, and um, you mentioned to me that I shouldn't really say exactly how much I have saved, and I appreciate you looking out for me. I did mention it because I thought sometimes it might be helpful for others or for you to know what I'm dealing with. And I don't know, because I've been hearing so much about, oh, you need $1 million to retire. And I'm nowhere near having that much money. So it's like, well, am I ever going to be able to retire? So I have all these things about finances in the back of my head that I'm really worried about. I think I'm in a different situation. And I think the fact that if I put my thrifting business and YouTube more like almost in as a hobby or a very, very, very part-time job, I can always come back and put more time and energy into these things at any time really. So that's the kind of the beauty of having, I guess, my own business, as opposed to if I had a 9 to 5 job and I had to quit the job in order to, take care of Malia. That I think that would be that would be a really hard and big decision to make. I think. Um, so there's that. So, the other thing that happened besides, accepting my daughter's help, or actually not just my daughter, because it's, both of them, it's Kelsey and Justin. I'm accepting their payment for childcare, is that when I talked to both Kelsey and Justin about my situation and how it's been difficult for me, and how the shifting, changing schedule was hard for my business. Kelsey knew it, but Justin didn't. And so after he learned about that, what they're doing now is they're trying to plan when his mom comes and goes, to whereas when Justin he has every other Friday off. So now he's going to be watching Malia when his mom's away, on his Friday off. And that will cut it back so that I'm, instead of 4 days a week, it's down to 3 days a week. And that helps me because then I can spend a little bit more time on my, you know, my businesses. So that was another big thing. And, it's really, I think it's nice for everybody because Justin is able to have some one-on-one time with his daughter as well. And he even said that, oh, he felt really bad. He didn't know how it was affecting me. My daughter and I just kind of assumed that he knew. But that's the importance of really, communication and really things talking things out, So, I haven't really said anything to Lena about it, and I'm not exactly sure how I would approach it, but I'm assuming that because Justin is working out the schedule with her, that he mentioned something about it. But the things that I will say out loud now is that I'm retired. And when I say I'm retired, it helps me to sort of frame where I'm at right now. Because in a sense, if I'm bringing in so much less money, I do feel kind of retired. How this shift has affected me emotionally is very interesting, kind of unexpected for me. And at first, it was really hard because, like I said, I had so much self-worth in, what I do for a living and how much money I make and how hard I hustle and grind and work. I had been doing it for so long that it was hard for me to imagine not doing it. And to slow down, take time, and not. So, for example, I used to wake up every morning at 5 a.m. and sometimes earlier if I needed to go sourcing. I might wake up at 4:30 in order to go sourcing at certain places that because I wanted to be the first one there. Or, 5 o'clock, I wake up, I jump onto the computer and I start listing and getting my listings up, or, working on ideas for the next YouTube video. So now I wake up at 5:30, Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends I don't set an alarm. So those are some big shifts for me. And I try to make it so that the weekends I hardly work at all if I can. And to tell you the truth, it's wonderful. I'm really enjoying it. The other thing besides, prioritizing Malia and my family is that I really prioritize my health now. And I put that above working on my businesses. And I do this because I'm 60. And I joke around with my girls, my daughters, and I say, I'm going to live till I'm 100 because I want to, see my grandkids grow and blah, blah, blah. And I would joke around with it. But in a lot of ways, I seriously, it's like my wish. And I do want to live till 100. But I only want to live to 100 if I'm healthy, mobile, and happy. So the way that I'm going to get there is I have to focus on my health now because I can already feel all kinds of shifts, in within me. And, my allergy situation, I've been I finally have, I'm finally dealing with that. Went to an allergist. I found out the only thing that I'm allergic to is cedar trees, which is very interesting. I'm like, I'm not even allergic to like dust mites or, dog dander. I might be a little allergic to cat dander. And anyway, so that's been really illuminating. And so I'm making sure to go to the doctor and things like that. But also, I'm really trying to focus in on exercising. And so I've been going back to the gym. Today, I went to my hip hop class. And what's great about hip hop is that I think it's good for my mind as well as, it being physical. Because for me to learn the routine, it takes a lot of mental effort for me. So that's been really good. And then I'm very happy that I'm focusing on that. And that's something that I have to prioritize. I have to put it before other things. I'm prioritizing, Sven, my dog. He's getting older. He's 10 years old. And so, you know, making the vet appointments, changing out his food so that he has a better diet, making sure that I take him out for his walks and things like that. So again, prioritizing these things where I used to always put my work ahead of a lot of things. So that's a big, big shift for me. And it's a shift that feels a little weird, but it feels really good. I think for those of us who are over 50, and I know I'm doing this, we're becoming more and more aware of how much time we have left. And like I said, if I live to 100, which I joke about, that's just 40 more years. And so, how do I want to prioritize and live that 40 years? So, what I do now is shaping my future. I think evaluating what my life is right now, prioritizing what's important, and figuring out what kind of purpose I want in my life at this chapter, at this stage of my life, is where I'm at. And I'm so happy that you're joining me. I want to really thank you for joining me and helping me figure this out at this stage of my life. And if you're going through something similar to what I'm going through, whether it's taking care of a child, a grandchild, or even an aging parent, or you're just trying to figure out what comes next, moving into this phase of our life can be really scary. But just know that you're not alone.